Well, Azov brigade was pushing for lifting this ban for many years, because actually they were the defenders. They're well known as the defenders of Azovstal, and many of the fighters there have been captured. And one of the reasons they were not so effective at defending that plant was because they did not have American weapons, and they were not allowed to use them. So this is very important, because they proved themselves as a very highly efficient fighting unit. Ukraine needs them very much at the moment. So the lift of this ban will allow them to be even more effective and to use all the available means and weapons to fight back Russian troops, which are currently advancing in many directions. To your question, why was the ban there? It was put almost a decade ago. After that, the Azov brigade joined the National Guard of Ukraine, and they are legitimately part of the Ukrainian armed forces for many years. But Russian propaganda was trying to portray them as a Nazi battalion, which actually their attempt proved to be not true, and now we see that the legitimate fighters have all the rights as all the other units of Ukrainian armed forces.
Yeah. You know, as you pointed out, Russia is making gains. How do you measure the gains that they have been making in recent days and weeks?
Well, Russia has opened a new front around Kyiv. They attempt to capture Vovchansk and another town of Lipsy. They were unable to do that, but we still have the ongoing offensive, and Russia is bringing more troops to the Belgorod region, a nearby region just across the border from Kharkiv. So now the situation changes in favor of Ukraine, because recently Ukraine was allowed to use Western weapons to hit these troops on the territory of Russia, and this actually slows down the path of the Russian advance and gives Ukraine a chance to change this course, and then actually to try to push out Russians off Ukrainian territory.
Yeah. You know, so crucial, Maria, has been the support of the US, which we know was a big hiccup for a few months, but it's back on track, as well as the EU in terms of military support. How concerned are people about the gains in the EU elections by far-right parties?
Well, this is a question of big concern, also because the agenda of the war and Ukrainian agenda is mostly not there in these parties, and generally the populists are getting more and more votes and support all over EU and not only there. So this is a question of concern, because they are not driven by the interest of the unity of the partnership in NATO and in the EU, but mostly about the populistic movements in different countries. And we have seen it very well that Russia makes use out of it, and they're actually manipulating quite well on this ground, trying to push forward the Russian narratives, which is highly threatening for the unity of the European Union. But we will see, because actually it turns out that initially in the European Parliament, the central parties will continue to be the ruling majority, and they will not give a lot of floor, so to say, to the right-wing parties.
Yeah. You know, we've noticed energy really being heavily targeted by Russian attacks. President Zelensky has urged a more modern energy system to be given to Ukraine. You know, what impact is that attack on energy and heating and all of those things for Ukrainians at the moment? And how hard is it going to be to deliver a different system quickly?
The situation is quite critical. I mean, it's critical in everywhere in Ukraine. We have power outages daily. Sometimes they last for as long as 20 hours. And the situation will be getting even more serious as we will get into the winter, because half of Ukrainian generating capacities is out, and we see that Russia continues their attempts to strike more energy infrastructure, and this will probably mean that even more consequences we will see further closer to the winter. So this is their actual strategy, to put Ukraine on the knees without power and without heating. So Ukraine tries to bring more to defend what we have, to defend the capacities that are left, and bring more smaller ones, so that they will be more difficult for Russia to target. But in any way, the only sufficient mean which will help in a large scale is air defense, because without air defense, all of these efforts will be just waste of money.
Yeah, this is one of those critical pieces in the puzzle. There's been a summit being held in Berlin looking at the recovery of Ukraine. It's an interesting one to be talking about, and essential, of course, because, of course, Kyiv is still battling what seems to be a conflict that never seems to have an ending if Russia has its way. What sort of considerations need to come into this at this point?
Well, for recovery is needed for Ukraine, because it's not only to rebuild the houses and what was destroyed, but also to defend energy infrastructure, to build more roads, so that people will be able to access their houses and not to abandon any territories. So this is crucial, not to start when the war will end, but to start now, because this will allow to keep up Ukrainian economy running. But people of Ukraine are still determined, as they were for all this more than 2 years, that Ukraine is not going to give anything to Russia, and the Ukrainians are ready and are eager to fight whatever it takes, because Russia is here to crush Ukrainian nationality, to crush Ukrainian identity, and this is something that Ukrainians can get along with.
Yes, indeed. Maria, always appreciate your time. Thank you.
Thank you for having me.